Happy St. Patrick's Day! My name is Dr. Jennifer Bolton. I'm new faculty here at Sterling College in the Theology and Ministry Department, and I just wanted to share a little bit with you today about the history of St. Patrick's Day. Now, first you might be thinking, St. Patrick's Day, right? Clovers, Irish, pots of gold, the whole thing? Ironically and interestingly, St. Patrick was not himself Irish. So, let's back up and get a little bit of his story in. St. Patrick grew up in the Kingdom of Great Britain. He was a Briton in the 5th century AD. And as Rome was withdrawing from England and consolidating their empire back into the continent, there began to be more pillaging, roving pirates and traders that kidnapped young St. Patrick. He was a young boy, maybe teens age, kidnapped him and sold him as a slave to Ireland. Now, Ireland was never conquered by the Romans, and so Christianity was not really very present in Ireland at the time. So St. Patrick eventually, he grew up around Christianity and as a Christian, in a Christian family, but he didn't really think very much about his faith. So during his time as a slave, he began to really question God and started to pray and really began to grow in his own faith. He eventually was able to escape 6 years later and returned to Ireland, or returned to England, sorry. While he was in England again, he grew up, he finished kind of, started to figure out what his life was going to look like, continued to really walk with God. And in England, one night he had a dream. And in his dream, he saw Irish babies crying out to him, asking him to come tell them about Jesus. So he eventually got permission from the Pope to become a missionary to Ireland. He returned to the country where he had been a slave for years and began to share his faith. We don't know loads about what happened next, but within 100 years, the church in Ireland had grown massively and was very heavily monastic. He started these little monastic communities all over Ireland, as best as we can tell historically, and they began to flourish. And there's two really cool long-term effects of Patrick's ministry in Ireland. Ireland stayed Christian, and these monasteries began to save. As the rest of the Roman Empire fell and people began to pillage even more, the Vikings came in, we lost loads and loads of ancient manuscripts, things like Plato and Socrates, people from Rome. Partially, the church in Europe was less concerned with saving them because they were not Christian, but also they were just being destroyed by Vikings. And so there's actually a book called How the Irish Saved Civilization, because the Irish monks and monasteries kept these records and documents. And so most of what we have of ancient classical texts come from the Irish. The second big thing that happened is the Irish have always been a bit of a wandering people. They love to travel, they love to go places, and so Ireland became a massive missionary sending nation in the 5th, 6th, 7th centuries. So they actually took Christianity into the Germanic tribes, into Switzerland, even back into parts of northern Italy. And so Ireland, as their founder Patrick was a missionary who came to them, they became missionaries to the rest of Europe. So that's a brief 2 cents on St. Patrick's Day and the history and why we celebrate it. The Irish do still see Patrick as the founder of the church in their country, and we get to celebrate with fun and green.